No, not a typo. The Orlando Guardians are the home favorite. 1.5, the line to open at a pick. It has climbed. Orlando taking some money. That total sitting at 42.5. I think it's going to be kind of like a senior night type of atmosphere, right? Because a lot of these Orlando Guardians are going to be moving on, some to the NFL, some to maybe different teams in the XFL, wherever their next journey takes them. This is the last get together in Camping World Stadium, and I think you're going to get a pretty good atmosphere based on what happened last week. The Paxton Lynch project, again, a failure. He gets shipped off to the San Antonio Brahmas. Quentin Dormady is QB1, and it's not close. San Antonio has tried 5 quarterbacks now this season. We'll get into them in a second. But for all the disrespect Orlando got from the sports books, how about them putting up a 4-3 record against the spread? Isn't this the most underrated team you've ever seen? Remember, they were an 8.5-point dog against Arlington last time around. With these rematches, we have not seen that much different of a spread anywhere. You go from 8.5-point favorite to 1.5-point dog in just a few short weeks. The Orlando Guardians 3-0 against the spread with Quentin Dormady running the signals. So odds makers adjust, and this is what we get now, an interesting number. You're not getting the value for Orlando as a dog anymore. We did move them up to number 6 in our power poll. We put them above Arlington regardless of the head-to-head because of Quentin Dormady. Or remember, we had old Lando and new Lando. You're dealing with new Lando. We talked about Arlington last week against Seattle, having the top pass defense in the league. Well, Seattle kind of picked them apart. They gave up 266 through the air to DiNucci. They did only give up 1 passing touchdown, so that was decent. Will Hill snagged himself a pick in the end zone. I think that Arlington pass defense will certainly provide Orlando a bigger challenge than DC was able to. I think that DC secondary was out of sorts. Tougher test from Arlington. This is a rematch, like I said, of that 10-9 snoozer that you're seeing here. One of the worst games of the year. In the Vegas St. Louis preview, we told you the loser of game 1 generally performing better in game 2. You're not getting any value on Orlando because the odds makers are already ahead of you there. Quentin Dormady versus Luis Perez, huh? Got to give props to Director of Player Personnel Larry Lee in Orlando, always looking for different ways to build. Last week against DC, you saw KD Cannon emerge in his first game, scored a big long touchdown. What a journey he's had. Jordan Thomas, another one catching a touchdown, both making their XFL debuts in a huge way for the Guardians. To illustrate just how special number 12 in green has been these last few weeks, he leads the league in completion percentage with 70. He also leads it in yards per attempt. So you know they're going downfield. They threw it deep a ton to these guys last week. Look at the last 3 games, averaging 385 yards of offense, 24 first downs, and 74% completion percentage. In the Vegas game alone for Orlando, 88% completion for Quentin Dormady. So the sacks, right, have become a huge issue in the beginning of the season for Orlando. They gave up 17 the first 4 weeks with Paxton Lynch, DeAndre Francois. Last 3 games, only 9. Huge improvement from the O-line, and that was against some great pass rushers. They went against Max Roberts and Peta in Vegas. Who else did they have? They had Tuzar Skipper in Seattle. He won our midseason award for quarterback nightmare. They've gone against Davin Bellamy, one of the most athletic players in the league in DC. So the line is holding their own. And some bad news for Orlando. Offensive tackle TJ Stormont confirming to us over Twitter that he tore his bicep. What a story for TJ to be traded from DC to Orlando, still win that game, and then tear his bicep. He tweeted us and said it was all worth it to beat DC. He'd do it again 100 times out of 100. Wishing him the best going forward. Looks like Abdul Beecham out of Kansas is going to take his spot at right tackle. Cody Latimer, 488 receiving yards. That is the league's best. Listen, we know he's the most NFL-ready player in the league. You don't got to second-guess that one. He's been the shining star. He's never quit on his team, even in the low points. When I was there, Houston, week 4, that game just seemed like everybody was out of sorts. Cody Latimer never gave up, just continues to get open. Can't cover him with a linebacker, but Arlington does have a pretty good one that can stuff the run in Donald Payne. Second in the league in tackles with 58. I don't see Orlando doing much on the ground here. I think last week they had just about 90 yards on 32 carries. You see Will Hill and Colin Schooler getting in the mix there as well. for Arlington. Devin Darrington really didn't match that gem that he put up in week 6. 13 carries, 17 yards for Darrington. So Orlando's going to have to do this through the air. I think most of the work will come with Lamar Thomas's wide receivers and Shane Matthews, quarterback in Dormady. I will say, I think Orlando has the 4th best skill position group in the XFL. I think Seattle, Houston, and St. Louis are probably a tad better, but it showed that Orlando probably has more athletic players, at least more depth, than DC is able to work with at the receiver position, especially. Charleston Rambo coming into his own here. Remember, this was their first round pick, and they expected him to emerge. He had a big 80-yard touchdown against Houston, and he's starting to break out. 24 catches on 34 targets for the former Miami Hurricane, top 10 in the league in yards. So, Arlington offense, I really don't have much to give you here, guys. It's been a sad story this year. They did have 22 first downs last week against Seattle, so maybe they found first gear. A lot of you seem to believe Luis Perez is going to come in here and save the day. I just don't see how. I don't think he has enough weapons. Jonathan Hayes been underwhelming this year. Perez did go 20 for 28, 269, and 3 scores in that Vegas offense when they played against Orlando. So maybe he's ready to step in against this defense and show out again. But if not, the Arlington Renegades have signed Kelly Bryant, who played for Clemson, Mizzou, played a little ball in fan controlled. Obviously, you know him from the days where it was Kelly Bryant going back and forth down that field for the Clemson Tigers. Was a great college player, but who knows what he'll do in the XFL. I can't believe I'm saying it, Zook, but the Orlando Guardians are the pick for me. This is the first time all year you will see that logo above fresh. I think it's the right pick, and I know you've told me, hey, Orlando's making adjustments. Don't sell your stock on T-Buck yet. And you hold that Orlando stock tight, and you're going to hold it for the rest of the season, I assume. Zook, going with Orlando here, huh?
All aboard. I got my ticket, and I'm on the train, baby.
Will they lose again? Put you on the hot seat here.
They're definitely losing again.
After this, San Antonio, St. Louis.
They're losing to St. Louis.
Okay, all right.
But
so you got them 3-7. That wouldn't be enough to make the playoffs, but this is huge for them to get this revenge against Arlington.
Arlington's defense is horrible, or offense is horrible.
Yeah. Perez is going to do anything.
They put up 38 on DC.
Yeah.
They're going to outscore them. That's all there is to it. Just jump on this. Run and get this number now.
Someone told me the fun and gun has come back to the Orlando Guardians, which is a Florida thing from Steve Spurrier. That's great to see. And a head scratcher here for Mikey Manziel. I don't know. I mean, we watched the Seattle-Arlington game. It just empty drives, empty possessions. You use 8 minutes of clock, you go down the field to do nothing on 3rd and 1. And you're always trailing, so you're never playing with a lead, so you can't run the ball.
The only wild card for this offense is that the OC can talk to Perez the entire time. Yeah. Whether he chooses to do so, we'll see.
Yeah, Hayes has been a little quiet
There's
this
a
year.
lot of people that aren't talking up to the snap, and it boggles my mind.
Let's talk about that for a sec. So June Jones is one of them where he makes his play sheet very simple.
Mm-hmm.
So most of his communication with DiNucci is pre-snap, like reading the defense.
Sure.
Haven't seen that from Jonathan Hayes. What you have seen is a QB wristband, right? I think Arlington may be one of the only teams to do it. I constantly see Plitt, who's now out for the year, looking at that wristband.
Right.
Does that change with Perez? Plitt, a little more inexperienced, right? Perez has been around the block. He's played in every league under the sun. Does he need the wristband? And will that change things for Jonathan Hayes if he's able to just read the defense?
I think it's just the little things. There's coordinators that are out there moving their receivers, telling them inside.
Yeah.
Get on the inside of them.
AJ Smith, June Jones do a lot of that.
Those are little things and details that you need to be doing, and I haven't seen it from them. So
yeah, Arlington just not been good offensively. They're not the league's worst anymore. San Antonio is, but I don't know. No more Drew Plitt. Kyle Sloter's been gone for weeks. You got Luis Perez, Kelly Bryant, Kevin Anderson. Those are your 3 quarterbacks. We'll see what Perez can do.